In number 7, you got a box sliding across the ground where there is friction. They give you the coefficient of kinetic or dynamic friction is 0.2, and they tell you the initial velocity is 4 meters per second, and they ask you for the displacement. So they don't give us a weight, which if you go to try to calculate the force of friction, you're going to need the reaction force that's acting up on the box. So if it's moving this way, if it's moving to the right, it will feel friction to the left, resisting that motion. And the force of friction is mu times r. So your first thought might be to try to calculate what the force of friction will be so that you can then calculate the acceleration. And that's the right kind of thinking, but we don't know what the weight of the box is. So just call it mg for now, and maybe later things will cancel out nicely. So if we look at this with Newton's second law, it says the sum of the forces is mass times acceleration. And we're not interested in the vertical direction for motion because it's not moving in the vertical direction. So in the x direction, if x is to the right and y is up, then you get negative force of friction equals mass times acceleration. That's negative mu times r equals mass times acceleration. Since this is sliding on the floor, and we can assume that the floor is level, the reaction force will equal the weight. So that's negative mu times mg equals ma. So the m's cancel, and you get that the acceleration is negative mu times g. So the acceleration is negative 0.2 times 10, or negative 2 meters per second squared. Now, knowing that, it turns into a fairly simple one-dimensional motion problem where you know an acceleration, and we know if it's coming to a stop, its final velocity will be 0 meters per second. And what's the displacement if we know the initial velocity? That makes me think v squared equals u squared plus 2as, because we have all this information and we're looking for s. So 0 equals 4 squared plus 2 times negative 2 times the displacement. You get s equals 16 over 4 equals 4 meters.